Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. I am very glad you're here today. If you tuned in last week, you had the pleasure of listening to Joan McDonald. She was on the podcast. You may know her from her Instagram Success is Train with Joan. She mentioned something important that I want to talk about here. She said something about cutting out any foods, especially carbs, isn't healthy, especially at this point in our lives. We all need all types of food to survive and thrive. And when it comes to carbs, I know we get a lot of mixed messages. I hear it all the time, especially if your goal is weight loss. So if you've ever thought, I should probably cut carbs to lose weight, or aren't carbs bad for me now that I'm over 40? Then maybe this episode is for you. In this episode, I want to share with you why I think carbs are essential, especially as we navigate perimenopause and menopause. And I'm going to give you 4 reasons why I think that we should eat enough carbs in our diets. But before I get there, I just want to talk a little bit about carbs and what enough carbs actually is. So when I talk about carbs, I'm talking about whole food carbs. I'm talking about unprocessed carbs in their most natural form, a whole fruit or vegetable or legume or whole grain like quinoa or brown rice. Now, how much is enough? So enough carbs, it really depends on how active you are, but on average, we would say about 8 handfuls a day, or about 160 grams to 240 grams a day, about that. Of course, the more active you are, like I said, the more carbs you should have. It should be somewhere between 45 and 65% of our daily calorie intake. So what does this all mean? If I'm talking about 8 handfuls a day, well, let's consider a breakfast of oatmeal and blueberries. That's probably about 3 handfuls. Like you're probably having about 2 handfuls of cooked oatmeal and a handful of blueberries. That's 3 right there. A dinner that includes salad and rice, that's about 2 handfuls. And a whole fruit snack is about 1 handful. I really like using handfuls as a tool because you always have your hands with you. So it's the most convenient tool. So now that I've explained that a little bit, I just want you to go and grab a cup of tea or lace up your walking shoes, and we'll have a conversation about why I believe carbs are absolutely essential as part of your midlife nutrition plan. The first point is that carbs actually help you regulate your blood sugar if you choose them wisely. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but don't carbs cause your blood sugar to spike? And that's a really good question. And the answer is that not all carbs are created equal. There's a big difference between refined carbs, those that we see in white bread, pastries, candy, pasta, and then there's whole fiber-rich carbs, things like fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, as I mentioned before. Now, here's where the science gets cool. When you eat fiber-rich carbs, they slow down your digestion. And this leads to a slow, steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. So you're not spiking glucose or insulin or crashing. So for example, a sweet potato with some olive oil and chicken, that will give you steady energy over time. Whereas a donut, which might have the same calories, will spike and crash your blood sugar. Stable blood sugar is absolutely a key in midlife health because those crashes can make us feel tired, cranky, and hungry, and often cause us to crave more sugar. And another advantage to keeping your blood sugar stable by eating the right types of carbs is that the stress hormone cortisol is also kept in check. Now, you know, I've talked about cortisol a lot on this podcast, is a huge factor in our midlife experience and our menopause experience. And cortisol and insulin are linked. And when insulin isn't spiking because you're keeping your blood sugar stable, cortisol is also less of an issue. You will keep your cortisol or stress at a more even keel. So isn't that interesting? How about this one? So this is the second point. Carbs fuel muscle and prevent midlife muscle loss. Wow. So carbs are muscle sparing. That is huge in midlife when we naturally start to lose muscle mass. This is a process called sarcopenia. Here's a little science. When you eat carbs, your body stores them as glycogen in muscles and liver. And glycogen is what your body uses for energy, especially during workouts. If you don't eat enough carbs, your body will start breaking down muscle tissue to get the energy it needs. And in midlife, we cannot afford to lose any muscle because we are naturally losing it anyways. Muscle also is metabolically active. That means the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest. And let's be honest, a lot of women say my metabolism is slowing down in midlife. Well, muscle is a big piece of that puzzle, and carbs can help you keep that muscle on. And of course, if you are exercising, if you are lifting weights or doing any type of exercise, you need carbs to fuel those muscles and recover properly. So that's a key. The third point I want to bring up here is that carbs support brain health and mood. So important at this point, right? Who hasn't felt brain fog and mood swings that come on in perimenopause and menopause? So here's something really interesting. Carbs help produce serotonin. That's our feel-good, calming neurotransmitter. When we eat carbs, it triggers the release of insulin, which helps tryptophan, the building block of serotonin, get into the brain. Low-carb diets actually have been linked to more anxiety, more irritability, and a low mood, especially in women. And there have been many studies done on this. So your brain primarily runs on glucose. It needs glucose to function. And where do we get that from? Carbs. So if you're feeling foggy or anxious or depressed, cutting carbs too low may make it worse. Really important. Finally, the fourth point I want to bring here is that carbs support your gut health. Our gut bacteria, which influence everything from digestion to mood to our immune health, they feed on prebiotic fibers that are found in carb-rich foods. Foods like oats and beans and bananas and asparagus. If we cut carbs too low, our good gut bacteria starve. And this can lead to bloating and constipation and inflammation, all of which tend to get worse in perimenopause and menopause. Now, because our gut bacteria changes with hormone changes, you may experience bloating or other issues even if you're eating healthy fiber-rich foods, especially foods that we call FODMAP foods. So FODMAP is an acronym. It's a bit of a mouthful of an acronym, and it stands for, let me hopefully get this right, fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Some common FODMAP foods are garlic and onions. Gosh, they're in a lot of foods that I eat. Peas, cauliflower, and mushrooms, and also fruit like apples, ripe bananas, peaches, pears, plums, and there's more. You can find a list of high and low FODMAP foods on the website ibsdiets.org. It's a very good list if you're looking for that. Now, obviously, these FODMAP foods, they're healthy foods, but they may cause you discomfort, especially as your hormones and gut bacteria change. And if you have issues with bloating or constipation, I suggest you keep a food journal so you can make the link between the foods that cause you discomfort and that issue that you're having. Other foods to be aware of that do cause discomfort are wheat, especially the gluten in wheat, and dairy. So these can also start affecting you in midlife. Before we wrap up here, I need to address the elephant in the room, and that's keto, or very low carb diets. These are diets that are about 10 to 20%. Well, I'd say that they're below 20% carbs. Now, I get this question a lot. Should I go keto to lose weight in menopause? And here's my take based on the science and what I've seen with my clients. So, first of all, we talked about low carb diets increase cortisol. And for women who are already in a high stress hormonal environment because of declining estrogen, this can make weight loss higher, not easier, right? Second, without carbs, your body has a hard time building or maintaining muscle. And again, muscle is crucial for burning calories and will help with weight loss. You don't want to lose muscle. Third, keto can disrupt your thyroid function. And many women in midlife already experience low thyroid hormones, which regulate metabolism. Studies have shown that very low carb diets can suppress T3, that's the active thyroid hormone, and we don't want to slow down our metabolism even more. And finally, mood and energy. Keto can leave women feeling foggy, anxious, and fatigued because our brains thrive on glucose. So while keto might work temporarily for some people, I believe for women who are navigating perimenopause and menopause, I don't think it's sustainable or supportive of long-term health, especially if you want energy, muscle, and a balanced mood. So instead, I would recommend eating moderate whole food-based carbs, the kind that fuel your workouts, stabilize your hormones, and keep you feeling good. And the last thing I want to mention is a mindset shift, because we do have this mindset right now of I need to cut carbs to lose weight. So instead of thinking I need to cut carbs, try shifting to I need to choose the right carbs that support my midlife body and brain. That can be a very powerful thought. And here's maybe one action or challenge that I want to give you today is to look at your next meal. Can you add a fiber-rich carb, something like sweet potatoes, quinoa, berries, or beans? And then notice how you feel after. Does that give you more energy? Does it make you feel more satisfied? That's really key. Just to sum up, everything I've said here is not necessarily gospel, and your body is unique. So get curious. Find out what foods feel best for you and which ones might deplete your energy or cause your body to feel uncomfortable or cause you to gain weight. Write this stuff down. That's the best way to understand your unique body. Write it down, get a journal. It's a fantastic tool. Now, if you liked this episode, please share it with a friend who's been struggling with energy or weight in midlife. And if you want more support, you can book a free call with me at any time. The link is in the show notes, and you can join my 6-month coaching program. I can help you with all of this. In the meantime, keep moving forward, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum Podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at DebbieHarbeckCoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.